Okay, here we are in video 3 of my Grading in the Pandemic presentation. And I'll be talking for a few minutes now about one of the two main options that schools have adopted for pandemic grading, and that is the no letter grade option, where all grades for all students for all courses will be P or NP or some variation, such as credit, no credit, and so on. As I said earlier, there are only a few schools that are getting rid of additional letter grades completely during the pandemic. I've got 14 of these PNP only policies in my DGO library, and I would urge you to take a look at each one to see how they explain their choice to get rid of grades completely. I've picked out just a few of those schools to look at in more detail here. I'm going to start with a Canadian university, the University of Alberta. They have put in place a very simple system, which is credit or no credit. Credit means you have successfully completed the course requirements. No credit means you have not completed the course requirements. University of Alberta faculty are revising their syllabuses to state clearly to students just what it means to successfully complete the course requirements, which will obviously vary from class to class. But even as they adopt this system in the classroom, they recognize that it has consequences beyond the classroom, specifically for purposes of graduate school and professional school applications. And so they are also allowing faculty to record a ranking qualification in addition to credit, no credit. Instructors, this I'm quoting, will also have access to a templated letter to indicate how a student performed relative to their peers within a course. This won't replace or replicate our regular grading scheme, but it will be a useful addition to applications. So the transcript for the pandemic semester will not rank students with grades, but separately, if needed, faculty will provide ranking information to assist students in their graduate applications. Next, Williams College. I've included a graphic here from the article in the Williams Record student newspaper announcing the PNP policy adopted by Williams because it's the only student survey I've seen. Admittedly, it's not a representative survey, just a few hundred students, but I think it's important to see that while the students are divided, there was very strong support for the PNP, mandatory PNP option, along with support for a universal pass approach, more so than for the letter grade option. And yes, I have found one school that's adopted universal pass, which I'll talk about in just a moment. The policy that Williams adopted uses P for pass and E for fail, with a passing grade being equivalent to a D- or higher in the normal grading system. Notice that this is significantly different than the University of Alberta system, which asks faculty to provide a statement in their syllabus of what it means to successfully complete the course requirements without any reference to traditional letter grades. In the Williams approach, the idea is that faculty would continue to assess students in terms of letter grades, and then for any letter grade other than F, i.e. D- and above, the grade they will record is B for pass. Up is Wellesley College, and I want to single out the statement from Andy Shannon there and other administrators at Wellesley as they announced their PNP grading policy. If you're going to read just one document in support of a no letter grade policy, this is the document to read. And here's a quote, and I'm going to go ahead and read this, not the whole thing, but most of it. We know that some of you would prefer to have the option to decide for yourselves what grading system to have for each course. During a normal semester, we would agree wholeheartedly that individual student autonomy and agency are an essential part of the college experience. However, this is not a normal semester. We are all affected by the disruptions that have already occurred, and we know that the impact of the pandemic will evolve for each of us over the next 6 weeks. Let's try to do our work and support one another without being required to make judgments. That approach of supporting one another without being required to make judgments is the argument I would make for getting rid of grades in general, and I'll talk more about that in the second half of the presentation. I want to single out MIT because it's the first grading policy that I saw in circulation. I first noticed it March 14th at Twitter, and that was what inspired me to start collecting these policies, first to lobby for a policy at my school, and then later on to help others lobbying for policies at their schools. MIT has a PE emergency pass grade, replacing the ABC grades, and an NE grade, replacing D or F. Note also that the NE grade will not appear on any transcript. What's remarkable about MIT is that this is a plan they had in place already in case of significant disruption. So all they had to do was to declare a significant disruption, and then this grading policy, along with a long list of other policies, would come into play. It's their emergency academic policies. Next up is the new school. They've adopted the double A grading option. In the double A option, there are two passing grades, A and A minus. Then there is a non-passing grade, which they are calling Z. These A and A minus grades will carry the same weight for GPA calculation as A and A minus grades in other semesters, while the Z grade will not have any impact on the GPA. Students at other schools, notably Harvard and Stanford, petitioned for AA grading, but so far as I know, the new school is the only institution so far to have adopted a AA policy. My last example is not a no letter grade option. Instead, it's an example of what's called universal pass. Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, is going to use ABC letter grades, but the lowest possible letter grade will be a C. Everybody will get at least a C, so it means everybody will pass. The way they're making this work is to stretch the percentage approach where 90 to 100 is an A and so on in a normal semester, so that in their new system, 80 to 100 will get a grade of A, 60 to 79 will get a grade of B, and any percentage lower than 60 will get a grade of C. So that is a quick look at some of the PNP only schools and the policies without traditional letter grading. And in the next video, I'll talk about the much more common option that schools are adopting, which is that students choose between the traditional letter grade or some form of NP grading.